A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a significant development for the upcoming electoral landscape, the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a challenge from Republican Congressman Mike Bost regarding an Illinois law that permits mail-in ballots to be counted if they are received up to 14 days after Election Day. This case, which has sparked considerable debate about election integrity and voter rights, will be taken up in the Supreme Court's next term starting in October, with a ruling expected by the end of June 2026. The core issue at hand is whether Bost and two Republican presidential electors possess the legal standing to contest state regulations that dictate the time, place, and manner of federal elections. If the court determines that they do have the standing, the lawsuit could advance, potentially reshaping the legal framework surrounding mail-in voting in Illinois and possibly beyond. The Illinois law in question was modified in 2005, allowing ballots to be counted as long as they are postmarked by Election Day, even if they arrive up to 2 weeks later. This policy aligns with similar laws in at least 17 other states, which also accept late-arriving ballots under certain conditions. Bost, who has represented Illinois in Congress since 2014, along with the two electors, initiated legal action against Illinois election officials in 2022, asserting that the counting of late ballots dilutes the value of their votes and violates their rights under the First and 14th Amendments. They further argued that this ballot receipt deadline is overridden by federal statutes that establish a uniform election day. However, a federal district court dismissed their case in 2023, concluding that Bost and the electors had not sufficiently demonstrated that they had the legal right to sue, a principle known as standing. This decision was upheld by a divided three-judge panel on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit, which agreed that the plaintiffs failed to show they had been harmed by the law governing late-arriving mail ballots. In their appeal to the Supreme Court, Bost and the electors contended that recent judicial trends have restricted candidates' abilities to contest state laws impacting their campaigns. They emphasized the necessity of the court's guidance to rectify what they view as an unwarranted limitation on candidates' rights to challenge electoral regulations. Their filing stated, "It is vitally important for the Supreme Court to clarify whether candidates can challenge state election laws in federal court." They argued that ensuring a transparent and orderly electoral process is crucial not only for the litigants involved but also for public confidence in the electoral system. On the other hand, Illinois election officials have urged the Supreme Court to reject the appeal, asserting that the plaintiffs are merely contesting the decision to count mail-in ballots that are postmarked on or before Election Day but arrive late. They pointed out that the plaintiffs have not claimed that the ballot receipt deadline has adversely affected their chances in any past or future elections. The state officials argued that the petitioners are attempting to challenge the deadline solely based on their status as candidates, which they believe is an insufficient basis for legal action. This case comes at a time when the integrity of mail-in voting is under intense scrutiny, particularly in the wake of claims made by former President Donald Trump regarding the legitimacy of late-arriving ballots and their impact on electoral outcomes. In March, Trump signed an executive order aimed at ensuring that votes are cast and received by Election Day, suggesting that federal funding for elections should be contingent upon state compliance with this requirement. As the Supreme Court prepares to hear this pivotal case, the implications could resonate far beyond Illinois, potentially influencing election laws and candidate rights across the nation. The outcome may not only define the legal landscape for mail-in voting, but also shape public perception of electoral integrity as the nation moves closer to future elections. With the stakes this high, all eyes will be on the Supreme Court as it navigates this complex issue that sits at the intersection of law, politics, and democracy itself. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.